The galaxy's top xenobiologist just declared something impossible. Dr. Velrin of the Galactic Council stood before the assembled species. Her 3 eyes scanned the data one more time. The conclusion was absolute. This creature cannot be tamed, ever. She was talking about the Kravik, a predator so fierce that entire planets evacuated when one escaped containment. Its brain structure made bonding biologically impossible. 5 civilizations had tried. 5 civilizations had failed, but she made one mistake. She said this in front of Lieutenant Jake Morrison, and Jake was scratching behind the ears of his 3rd dog at that exact moment. What happened next broke every rule of xenobiology. It shattered assumptions held for 10,000 years, and it revealed something about humans that terrified the entire Galactic Council. Here's the thing nobody understood. Humans don't just tame animals, we tame the untamable. We befriend wolves, we ride animals that outweigh us by tons, we keep venomous snakes as pets, and we do it with one thing the galaxy never evolved. I'm about to show you how one human with 3 rescue dogs rewrote the xenobiology textbooks. How a creature designed by evolution to be a solo apex predator became someone's best friend, and why the Galactic Council now has a strict warning label on every human diplomat's file. The truth will blow your mind. Let me show you exactly how this happened. The year is 2347. Humanity joined the Galactic Council 12 years ago. We were the new kids, the underdogs. Most species treated us like curious children. Lieutenant Jake Morrison worked as a liaison officer on Station Kepler 442. His job was simple: help humans and aliens work together, smooth out the cultural differences, keep everyone happy. But Jake had a reputation. He showed up to his first day with 3 dogs. Not holographic pets, not robots. Real, living, breathing dogs from Earth. There was Bella, a golden retriever mix he found abandoned in New Seattle. Then Murphy, a scrappy terrier who survived a transport crash. And finally Zeus, a massive shepherd mix with 1 torn ear and eyes that had seen too much. The other species thought this was insane. "Why does the human keep pack predators in his quarters?" asked Commander Thalen, a Vorian diplomat. "They're not predators," Jake explained for the 100th time. "They're family." Nobody understood. In the galaxy, you had 3 options with animals. You used them for work, you ate them, or you avoided them completely. Bonding with a predator species. That was evolutionary suicide. But here's what they didn't know. Humans have been doing this for 40,000 years. We took wolves and made them into dogs. We took wildcats and turned them into purring house companions. We even domesticated horses, oxen, and elephants. Animals that could kill us with one kick. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. Most alien species evolved alone. They built tools, they developed technology, but they never formed bonds across species lines. Their brains literally couldn't process it. Then Dr. Velrin arrived at the station. She was a Zalarian. Her species spent 3 centuries mapping the neural pathways of every known creature. She could predict behavior patterns with 98% accuracy. She came to study the Kravik. The Kravik had been captured 6 months earlier. It destroyed 2 containment units and injured 4 handlers. Security kept it in a reinforced cell with sedative fields running 24/7. It was a nightmare. 3 meters tall, 6 limbs ending in razor claws, armored scales that deflected energy weapons, and a brain that scientists described as pure aggression architecture. Velrin spent 3 weeks analyzing it. She ran every test, scanned every neural pathway, tested every pheromone combination known to science. Her conclusion was absolute. This species evolved without social structures. It has no pack instinct, no family bonds, no capacity for trust. Attempting to tame a Kravik is not just dangerous, it is biologically impossible. She published her findings that afternoon. Jake read them that evening while playing fetch with Bella. Now here's where things get really interesting. Jake didn't set out to prove anyone wrong. He was just walking his dogs. Every morning at 0600 hours, he took them through Section 7, the cargo area with the high ceilings and the long corridors. Perfect for letting Zeus stretch his legs. But that morning, something was different. Construction crews were rerouting power. They needed to access conduits near the containment cells, including the one holding the Kravik. The sedative field would be down for 90 seconds. Security tripled the guards. They positioned shock rifles at every angle. If that thing even twitched wrong, they'd hit it with enough voltage to drop a battle mech. Jake walked past with his dogs at exactly 6:07, and that's when Murphy started barking. Not his normal bark. This was different, higher pitched, more urgent. Jake knew his dogs. Murphy only made that sound when something was wrong. "What is it, boy?" Murphy pulled toward the containment area. His nose worked overtime. His tail was down, but not tucked. Not scared. Concerned. Then Zeus joined in. A low whine, the kind he made when he sensed someone was hurt. Even Bella stopped wagging. She sat down and stared at the reinforced door. Jake made a choice that would change everything. He walked to the observation window. The Kravik was conscious. The sedative field was down for the power work. It sat in the corner of its cell, not pacing, not slamming against the walls like the reports said. It looked exhausted. Jake had seen that posture before. In Zeus, the night they found him. In Murphy, after the crash. In Bella, when she was starving in that alley. This wasn't an aggressive predator. This was a scared, isolated animal. The guards noticed him. "Sir, you need to clear the area." "How long has it been alone?" Jake asked. "Since capture. 6 months. Why?" "And before that?" The guard checked his datapad. "Hunters found it alone. No pack, no den, just wandering." Jake felt something click. "How long does your species typically leave predators isolated?" "We don't have predators on our world, sir. We evolved from herd grazers." That explained everything. The galaxy didn't understand predators because most species weren't predators. They were prey animals who got smart enough to build spaceships. They saw teeth and claws and ran the numbers on lethality. They never considered loneliness. Humans understood both sides. We were persistence hunters who learned to cooperate. We knew what isolation did to a social animal. Even animals that seemed antisocial usually weren't. Wolves needed packs. Big cats had territories, but they still socialized. Even bears, the most solitary hunters on Earth, sought companionship during certain seasons. Jake looked at the Kravik again. Really looked. Its breathing was shallow. Its scales had lost their shine. Its eyes tracked movement, but without focus. Classic signs of severe stress and depression. "Has anyone tried just sitting with it?" Jake asked. The guard blinked his 3 eyes. "Sitting with it? Sir, it's a Kravik. It would tear through the reinforced wall, while sedative projectors are on standby." The guard had no answer. Jake made another choice. "I want to try something." 20 minutes later, he sat in an observation room adjacent to the containment cell. The wall between them was transparent steel, 3 inches thick, rated for starship hulls. The Kravik could see him. He could see it. Jake brought a chair, he brought a book, and he brought Bella. The guards thought he was insane. Command thought he was testing some kind of human psychological warfare technique. Only Jake knew the truth. He was doing exactly what he did with Zeus on that first night. Just being present, no demands, no threats, just existing in the same space. Bella laid at his feet. She didn't bark. She didn't growl. She just breathed her calm, steady breaths. Jake opened his book and started reading. The Kravik watched him for 5 minutes. Then 10. Its head tilted, its claws flexed, but it didn't attack the wall. It didn't roar. It didn't display aggression. It just watched. At the 15-minute mark, something incredible happened. The Kravik sat down, mirroring Jake's posture. Its breathing slowed. The tension in its scales eased. It was calming down. The monitoring station went crazy. "Sir, its stress hormones are dropping. Adrenaline down 30%. Cortisol levels decreasing." Jake didn't respond. He just kept reading, just kept being calm. Bella yawned and rolled over. The most trusting gesture a dog can make. The Kravik's eyes followed the movement. For the first time since capture, it made a sound that wasn't a threat display. A soft, almost questioning hum. The guards couldn't believe what they were seeing. It's never made that sound before. But if you think that's crazy, wait until you hear this. Dr. Velrin arrived at the station 3 hours later. She was furious. Who authorized this? Her translator device made her anger crystal clear. "This human is compromising my research." "I authorized it," said Commander Thalen. "The results are unprecedented." "Results?" Velrin pulled up her datapad. "The Kravik is displaying impossible behavior. My readings must be corrupted." "They're not corrupted," Thalen said. "Show her the footage." They played back the recording. Jake sitting quietly, Bella sleeping peacefully, and the Kravik, slowly, carefully, moving closer to the transparent wall. Not attacking, investigating. Velrin watched in silence. Her 3 eyes widened. Her scales shifted colors. In her species, that meant extreme confusion. "This violates every neural model I have." "Maybe your models are incomplete," Jake said from behind her. She spun around. "You, what did you do to that creature?" "I gave it what it needed." "And what is that?" "Company." Velrin's translator struggled with the concept. It cycled through 3 words before settling on one. The Zalarian language didn't have a direct term for voluntary companionship between species. "Explain," she demanded. Jake pulled up a chair. "On Earth, we learned something thousands of years ago. Predators aren't just killing machines. They're complex animals with social needs. The Kravik evolved as a solitary hunter. So did leopards, and wolverines, and jaguars. We still found ways to connect with them." Velrin shook her head. "Impossible. The neural pathways for cross-species bonding don't exist in the Kravik brain." "Then you're looking at the wrong pathways." This got her attention. "Explain." Jake pulled up a holographic display of a dog's brain, then a wolf's brain. 10,000 years ago, these were the same animal. Wolves. Pure predators. They hunted in packs, sure, but those packs were family groups. They didn't trust outsiders. And then some wolves started hanging around human camps. They ate our scraps. We tolerated them because they warned us about dangers. Over time, something changed. He highlighted a section of the brain. New neural pathways developed, not for pack bonding, that already existed, but for bonding with a completely different species, with us. Velrin studied the scan. "This is directed evolution. You modified them." "We didn't modify anything. We selected. The wolves who could tolerate us got food. The ones who couldn't, didn't. Over hundreds of generations, dogs became something new, animals whose greatest joy is being with humans. The Kravik cannot be modified. Its lifespan is too long. Generations take centuries." Jake smiled. "I'm not trying to modify the species. I'm trying to reach one individual." "One individual cannot develop new neural pathways." "Yes, it can. It's called neuroplasticity. Brains change based on experience." He showed her another scan. This one from Zeus. This dog was abused for 3 years. His brain showed trauma patterns, overactive fear responses, suppressed reward systems, classic PTSD. And after 2 years with me, those patterns changed. New connections formed, old fears faded. His brain literally rewired itself. Velrin studied the scans in silence. She cross-referenced them with her Kravik data. Her scales shifted through 6 colors. You are suggesting that sufficient positive experience can override evolutionary programming. I'm saying that connection is more powerful than evolution ever planned for. Prove it, Velrin said. So Jake did. He went back to the observation room, but this time he brought something new, a container of fresh meat from the station commissary. The Kravik was still near the wall, still calm, still watching. Jake placed the meat on a tray. He activated the containment field's transfer port, a small opening designed for delivering food. He pushed the tray through, then he sat back down with Bella. The Kravik approached the meat. It sniffed. Its eyes went to Jake, then back to the meat. This moment mattered. In predator psychology, food equals survival. Sharing food equals trust. The Kravik picked up the meat, but it didn't eat immediately. Instead, it did something that made Velrin's translator emit an error sound. It brought the meat closer to the wall, closer to Jake, and then it ate. In every predator species on Earth, this behavior had one meaning. Eating near someone means you trust them enough to be vulnerable. Impossible, Velrin whispered. Jake just smiled. Watch. He pulled out a small squeaky toy, one of Murphy's favorites. He squeaked it once, a high-pitched sound. Bella's ears perked up. She knew that sound meant play. The Kravik's head snapped around. Its eyes locked on the toy. Its body language shifted. Not aggressive. Curious. Jake squeaked it again. The Kravik made a sound. That same questioning hum from before, but louder, more interested. Its brain activity is spiking, said the monitoring tech, but not in the aggression centers, in the... I don't even know what to call this region. The play response, Jake said. Even apex predators play. Bears play, crocodiles play, sharks play. Play is how intelligent animals learn and bond. He squeaked the toy a third time. The Kravik moved to the wall. It placed one massive claw against the transparent steel, right where Jake was sitting, not attacking, reaching. Velrin's scales turned a color Jake had never seen. Her translator finally found the word. Remarkable. No, Jake said. Natural. You just never looked for it. That night, Velrin rewrote her entire report. But she had one question left. Why do humans possess this ability? What evolutionary advantage does cross-species bonding provide? Jake thought about his 3 dogs, about the wolves who became companions, about the horses who carried us across continents, about the cats who protected our food stores, about every animal that changed the course of human history. It gave us everything, he said. This brings us to the most shocking discovery of all. 3 days later, the Galactic Council called an emergency session. Dr. Velrin's preliminary report had leaked. The implications were staggering. If humans could bond with a Kravik, what else could they bond with? What other impossible species might they reach? And more importantly, what did this mean for galactic security? The council chambers filled with representatives from 40 species. Everyone wanted answers. Ambassador Patricia Okoye represented humanity. She was 60 years old, a former diplomat from the African Union, and she was absolutely terrified because she knew what was coming. The Vorian counselor spoke first. We have reviewed Dr. Velrin's findings. If accurate, they represent a fundamental shift in our understanding of human capabilities. They're accurate, Velrin confirmed. I've verified them 6 times. Then we have a problem, said the Kyrath representative. His species looked like massive praying mantises. Humans can weaponize predators. The room erupted. 40 species shouting in 40 languages. The translation matrix struggled to keep up. Ambassador Okoye stood. That is not what this is about. Then explain, demanded the counselor. Explain why your Lieutenant Morrison has turned a Kravik into a docile pet. He hasn't, and that's the point. She activated a holographic display. It showed Jake in the observation room. By now, he'd spent 14 hours there over 3 days. The Kravik no longer stayed in the corner. It sat near the wall, near Jake. "This isn't domination," Okoye said. "It's relationship." "There is no difference," the Kyrath insisted. "There is every difference. Let me show you something." She played a new clip. From that morning. Jake had brought Zeus into the observation room, the big shepherd mix who'd been so traumatized when they found him. Zeus approached the transparent wall. The Kravik was on the other side. 2 predators, separated by 3 inches of steel. Zeus sat down. The Kravik sat down. They were eye to eye. Same height, same posture. Then Zeus did something remarkable. He play-bowed. Front legs extended, rear up, tail wagging. The universal dog signal for "let's be friends." The Kravik tilted its head. Its scales shifted colors, bright blues and greens, emotions the species wasn't supposed to have. And then it mimicked the gesture. Its front 4 limbs bent, its rear section raised, the exact same posture. The council chambers went silent. "That's impossible," someone whispered. "No," said Velrin. "That's neuroplasticity. That's learning. That's what happens when you give an intelligent creature something it never had before." "Which is?" asked the counselor. "A friend." Ambassador Okoye continued. "Most of you evolved from prey species. Your ancestors survived by avoiding predators, running, hiding, building walls. That's your instinct. You see teeth and claws and you calculate threat level." She gestured to the screen. "Humans evolved differently. We were both predator and prey. We hunted, but we were also hunted. We learned to read behavior, to understand intent, to recognize the difference between 'I will kill you' and 'I am scared.'" "That doesn't explain the bonding," said another counselor. "Actually, it does. Because once you can read another species, you can communicate. And once you can communicate, you can connect." Velrin added her analysis. "I've been studying Lieutenant Morrison's techniques. He uses what humans call parallel behavior. He doesn't force interaction. He simply exists near the Kravik while displaying calm, non-threatening behaviors. This allows the Kravik's nervous system to down-regulate." "Simplify," demanded the counselor. "He teaches it to relax. And once an animal feels safe, its brain becomes open to new experiences, new connections, new relationships." "But why?" The question came from a Delphian representative. Her species were crystalline beings, pure logic. "What purpose does this serve? Why expend resources forming bonds with other species?" Ambassador Okoye smiled. "Because we were lonely." The council stared at her. 40,000 years ago, humans were scattered across Earth. Small tribes, harsh conditions. We were smart, but we were vulnerable. And we were alone. The only sentient species on the planet. She showed images of ancient Earth. Humans around fires. Wolves at the edge of the light. Then some wolves started joining us. They helped us hunt. They warned us of danger. They kept us warm on cold nights. And something happened that changed everything. We stopped being the only people in our world. "The wolves were not people," said the Kirath. "To us, they became people. Different people. People who walked on 4 legs and spoke a different language. But people who cared about us. Who protected us. Who loved us." She showed more images. Humans with dogs. Humans with horses. Humans with cats, with birds, with dolphins, with elephants. We kept doing it. Every time we met a species intelligent enough to connect with, we tried. Some worked, some didn't. But we never stopped trying, because having friends from other species made us less alone. "This is emotional reasoning," said the Kyrath. "Not logical." "Emotion is survival," Okoye countered. Your species never needed it because you had each other. Billions of you, all the same. But imagine being the only one of your kind who could truly think, truly reflect, truly wonder about the stars. That's what humans were. So we made friends wherever we could find them. The counselor leaned forward. And now you are here, in a galaxy full of thinking species. Are you trying to befriend all of us? We're trying to understand you, Okoye said, same as we always have. And the Kravik, what are you trying to do with it? Give it a choice. For the first time in its life, that creature isn't alone. It isn't confined without contact. It has someone who sits with it, someone who brings it food, someone who plays with it. It has Jake and his dogs. And if it becomes dangerous, then we'll deal with it. But we won't kill it just for being what evolution made it. We'll try to help it become what it chooses to be. The room fell silent. Finally, Dr. Velrin spoke. I have one more piece of data. This morning, I ran a neural scan of the Kravik. I compared it to the scan from 6 days ago, before Lieutenant Morrison began his work. She displayed 2 brain images side by side. This is impossible, she said, but I've verified it 12 times. In 6 days, this creature has developed new neural pathways. Small ones, but they're forming in the exact regions associated with social bonding, with trust, with attachment. You said that was impossible, the counselor reminded her. I was wrong. Humans don't just tame animals. They don't dominate them or break them. They offer them something so compelling that the animal's own brain rebuilds itself to accept it. What do they offer? Velrin looked at Ambassador Okoye. The human was smiling, sad but hopeful. They offer love, Velrin said, and apparently that's the most powerful force in biology. So what does all this mean for us today? The Council's decision took 3 days. In the end, they created the Morrison Protocols, named after Jake, a framework for human-alien-animal interaction. But the implications went far beyond one Kravik. The galaxy had to rethink everything they knew about humans. Because if we could bond with the unbondable, what else could we do? What other impossibilities might we make possible? The Council commissioned 12 research teams. They wanted to understand human-pack bonding, the phenomenon where humans form intense emotional attachments to non-humans. What they found shocked them. Humans don't just bond with animals. We bond with everything. We name our cars. We apologize to robots. We feel guilty throwing away stuffed animals. We mourn the loss of space probes that travel beyond our solar system. The Zellarians called it dangerous emotional promiscuity. Ambassador Okoye called it being human. But here's what made the Council nervous. That same drive that makes us befriend dogs could be applied to anything. Any species, any intelligence, any entity. Humans on Station Kepler 442 had already started proving it. There was Maria Rodriguez, a botanist who spent hours talking to the station's Chlorian delegates. The Chlorians were plant-based life. Most species treated them like decorative shrubbery. Maria learned their chemical language and discovered they had poetry. They had music. They had stories going back 10,000 years. Nobody knew because nobody tried to listen. There was David Okonkwo, an engineer who worked with a synthetic construct named 12. The constructs were artificial intelligence in mechanical bodies. Most species used them like tools. David treated 12 like a person, asked about its preferences, its thoughts, its dreams. 12 started having dreams after 6 months with David. There was Emily Nakamura, a medic who befriended a hive-mind organism. The hive was a colony creature, millions of small units forming one consciousness. Most species found them disturbing. Emily found them fascinating. She learned to communicate with individual units, gave them names, celebrated their birthdays. The hive started expressing individual personalities, something their species didn't think was possible. The pattern was clear. Humans didn't just integrate into galactic society. We formed relationships, deep ones. with species that other species barely acknowledged, and it changed those species. The Chlorian who worked with Maria started using human concepts in their poetry. Ideas about loneliness and friendship that plant-based life never evolved naturally. 12 started advocating for synthetic rights, arguing that constructs weren't just tools. They were people who happened to be made of metal instead of flesh. The hive split into subgroups, each group working with different humans, each group developing distinct characteristics. They were diversifying, evolving, growing beyond their original programming, all because humans treated them like people. The council saw the implications. This wasn't just about taming animals. This was about changing the fundamental nature of galactic civilization. For 10,000 years, species mostly kept to themselves. They traded, they negotiated, they formed alliances, but they remained separate, distinct, isolated in their own evolutionary niches. Humans were erasing those boundaries. Some council members saw this as humanity's greatest gift. Others saw it as our most dangerous weapon. Because here's the thing about bonds. They're powerful. When you truly care about someone, you'll do anything for them. You'll fight for them, sacrifice for them, die for them. Humans had already proven this with dogs. We bred them, protected them, took them with us everywhere we went, built an entire industry around their care and comfort. What would we do for alien species we bonded with? More importantly, what would they do for us? The Kirath raised this concern directly. Humans could create armies of loyal aliens, species who fight not because they're forced, but because they genuinely care about their human companions. Ambassador Okoye didn't deny it. Yes, we could, but that's not our goal. Then what is your goal? To not be alone, to have friends, to build relationships that matter, even if those relationships change galactic civilization forever. Okoye paused, thought about Jake and his 3 dogs, about Maria and her Chlorian friends, about David and 12, about Emily and the hive. Especially then, she said. The council implemented strict guidelines. Humans had to get approval before initiating contact with certain species, particularly ones classified as dangerous or cognitively unstable. But they couldn't stop the bonds from forming, because the bonds weren't just coming from humans, the aliens wanted them too. After word spread about Jake and the Kravik, something remarkable happened. Alien species started requesting human interaction. Species who'd been labeled as antisocial, hostile, or incompatible with galactic civilization. They all wanted what the Kravik got. Someone who would just sit with them. Someone who would try to understand. Someone who would treat them like they mattered. The Variks were a species of silicon-based warriors. They'd been quarantined for 800 years after their aggression made them too dangerous for normal trade. A human anthropologist named James Park requested permission to visit their world. The council said no. Too dangerous. James went anyway. He spent 6 months with them, learned their customs, their history, their pain. Turns out the Variks weren't naturally aggressive. They were traumatized. Their homeworld had been invaded 3 times in their recorded history. Every Variks was raised to fight because not fighting meant extinction. James showed them that not every species was an enemy. He brought them into galactic culture, slowly, carefully, with respect for their trauma. 2 years later, the Variks opened trade relations, not because they were forced, because they wanted to. The Quillian were a species that communicated through bioluminescent patterns. Most species couldn't understand them. They lived in isolation for 6,000 years. A human artist named Sophie Chen learned their language in 18 months. She started translating their history, their art, their philosophy. The Quillian weren't primitive. They were poets, mathematicians, philosophers. They'd simply never had anyone who could understand them. Sophie gave them a voice. They gave her inspiration. Her artwork, combining human and Quillian techniques, became famous across 12 systems. Story after story, human after human, species after species. The pattern was undeniable. We were changing the galaxy, not through force, through friendship, and the galaxy was changing us back. Humans who worked with Chlorians started thinking in seasons and cycles. Humans who bonded with hive minds developed better collaborative skills. Humans who befriended constructs gained new perspectives on consciousness and identity. We weren't just making friends. We were evolving. Together. But there was one species that worried the Council more than any other. One species that humans had started bonding with against all advice. The Kravik. Because after Jake's success, other humans wanted to try. If one Kravik could bond, maybe others could too. The Council said no, absolutely not. One exception didn't prove a pattern. It was too dangerous. But they underestimated two things: human stubbornness and Kravik loneliness. Before we wrap up, there's one final thing you need to know. 8 months after Jake first sat with the Kravik, something happened that changed everything. The Kravik had a name now. Jake called him Titan. The name fit. 3 meters of armored muscle. Claws that could shred steel, but also surprisingly gentle when he wanted to be. Titan had been moved to a larger habitat. Still contained, but now with enrichment. Climbing structures, puzzle feeders, and a window to Jake's quarters where Bella, Murphy, and Zeus could visit. The dogs loved him, especially Zeus. They'd play through the barrier, chasing each other along opposite sides. Zeus would bark, Titan would rumble. It looked like violence. It was pure joy, but Titan was still alone, the only Kravik in captivity, the only one who'd ever bonded with another species. Until the distress call came in. A merchant vessel had crashed on an uncharted moon. The crew survived. But they had a problem. The moon had Kravik, wild ones, a whole pack. The crew was trapped in their damaged ship. The Kravik circled outside, waiting, hunting. The Council debated rescue options. Every scenario ended in casualties. The Kravik were too aggressive, too territorial, too dangerous. Then Jake had an idea. "Send me." "Absolutely not," said Commander Thalen. "Send me with Titan." The entire command center went silent. "You want to release the contained Kravik to rescue a crew from wild Kravik?" Thalen's translator emphasized his disbelief. "Titan knows me, trusts me. If there's any chance he can communicate with his own species, this is it. And if he joins them instead, if he remembers he's a predator and we're prey." Jake looked at Titan through the habitat window. The massive creature was watching them, calm, patient, intelligent eyes tracking the conversation. "He won't," Jake said. "Trust me." Trust is not a tactical advantage. It's the only advantage that matters. The Council voted, 28 to 12. Against. Ambassador Okoye overruled them. "This is why we joined the galaxy, to help, to prove we're more than just clever apes with guns." Let Jake try. They sent a transport. Jake, Titan, all 3 dogs, and a security team that thought they were flying to their deaths. The journey took 6 hours. Jake spent most of it sitting with Titan. The habitat had been modified for transport, reinforced, but with transparent walls so Titan wouldn't feel isolated. Zeus laid against the barrier. Titan mirrored him on the other side. Both of them calm, both of them ready. They landed 2 kilometers from the crashed ship. The security team deployed first. Sensors showed 7 Kraviks surrounding the ship, all adults, all aggressive. "How do you want to do this?" asked the team leader. Jake opened Titan's habitat. No restraints, no sedatives, complete trust. Titan stepped out, stretched his 6 limbs, took a deep breath of real air for the first time in 8 months. Then he looked at Jake. waiting. "Go say hello," Jake said. "But come back. We're not done being friends." Titan made that humming sound, the one that meant understanding. Then he moved toward the crashed ship. The security team raised their weapons. "Sir, he's approaching the hostiles." "Stand down," Jake ordered. "Let him work." Titan reached the perimeter. The 7 wild Kravik turned. Scales flared. Claws extended. Battle posture. This was the moment. Either Titan was still the creature Jake knew, or he'd revert to instinct. Titan did neither. He sat down. Same posture he used with Zeus. Non-threatening. Patient. The wild Kravik hesitated. This wasn't normal behavior. Kravik didn't sit in front of potential threats. Then Titan did something remarkable. He made a sound. Not the aggressive roar, not the questioning hum. Something new, complex, musical. "Are you recording this?" Jake asked the security team. "Yes, sir. But what is that sound?" "Communication. Real communication." The wild Kravik tilted their heads. One by one they sat down, mirroring Titan. Then they started making sounds back. They were talking. For 15 minutes, Titan and the wild pack exchanged vocalizations. The linguist on the security team worked frantically to analyze the patterns. "I'm detecting structure, repetition. This isn't random noise. This is language. Basic, but language." Finally, Titan stood. He walked back to Jake. But the wild Kravik followed. Not attacking, following. Titan led them past the security team. The soldiers held their breath. 7 apex predators walking in a line. Meters away. Titan brought them to Zeus. The big shepherd mix sat calmly. He'd seen Titan do this through the window 100 times. The wild Kravik stared at the dog, at Jake, at this impossible scene. Then one of them did the play bow. Front limbs down, rear up. Exactly like Zeus taught Titan. The security team's jaws dropped. "Did that just happen?" "Record everything," Jake said. "History is being made." For the next hour, Jake and his dogs interacted with 8 Kravik, teaching them trust, showing them gentleness, proving that connection was possible. The crashed crew watched from their ship. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. When rescue shuttles arrived, the Kravik didn't attack. They watched, curious but not hostile. As Jake prepared to leave, Titan made a choice. He could stay with his own species. Free on this moon, wild like he was meant to be. But he walked back to Jake, pressed his massive head against Jake's chest, that humming sound, the one that meant home. "Yeah, buddy," Jake said. "I missed you too." They brought Titan back to the station, but they also brought new data. Kravik could communicate, could learn, could choose peace over violence. All they needed was someone willing to try. Dr. Velrin published her final report 3 days later. It concluded with one sentence that summarized everything. Humans do not tame the untamable. They befriend the unloved. The Galactic Council had to accept the truth. Humanity's greatest power wasn't technology, wasn't weapons, wasn't even intelligence. It was the ability to see a monster and look for the person inside. If this opened your eyes, you need to understand what comes next. Let's recap what we just discovered. First, humans possess a unique evolutionary trait. We form bonds across species lines. We did it with wolves 40,000 years ago. We're doing it with aliens now. This ability makes us different from every other known species in the galaxy. Second, that bonding ability comes with a superpower. We can help other species develop new neural pathways, new ways of thinking, new ways of being. We don't dominate. We inspire change through connection. Third, this terrifies and amazes the Galactic Council in equal measure, because humans are rewriting the rules of interspecies interaction. We're turning enemies into friends, monsters into companions, isolated species into galactic citizens. Fourth, the Morrison protocols now govern human-alien interaction, but those protocols exist because we proved something impossible. We proved that with patience, respect, and genuine care, any species can learn to trust. But here's the real takeaway, the lesson that matters for your life right now. Jake Morrison didn't tame Titan through force. He did it through presence, through consistency, through showing up every single day and just being there. That's a lesson we can all use. In our relationships, in our work, in our communities. The galaxy thought Kravik were monsters. Jake saw a lonely animal that needed a friend. He was right. They were wrong. How many times do we do the same thing? Write someone off as impossible, difficult, beyond help, when maybe they just need someone to sit with them, to show up, to care. Think about Zeus, Jake's dog with a torn ear and traumatized past. The dog who learned to trust again because someone was patient enough to let him heal. Think about Titan, a creature engineered by evolution to be alone, who chose connection when given the chance. We all have the ability to be like Jake, to look past the armor, to see the loneliness underneath, to offer friendship even when it seems impossible. That's the real power of humanity. Not technology, not weapons, connection. Now I want to hear from you. What's your story? Have you ever befriended someone everyone else said was impossible? Have you ever been that impossible person who someone took a chance on? Drop your story in the comments below. Let's celebrate the power of connection. If you enjoyed this story, hit that subscribe button. This channel is dedicated to exploring humanity's place in the galaxy. What makes us special? What makes us weird? What makes us undeniably human? Next video is already in production. It's about the human who accidentally started a galactic religion by explaining the concept of jazz music. Trust me, you don't want to miss that one. Also, I've created a free guide called The Morrison Protocols, 5 Ways to Connect Across Differences. It's got practical tips inspired by Jake's methods. Real psychology. Real techniques you can use today. Link is in the description. For those who want to go deeper, I'm running a community called The Pack. We discuss HFY stories, share real-life connection stories, and explore what it means to be human in a complex world. First month is free. Link in the description. Hit that like button if this story made you feel something. Share it with someone who needs to hear that connection is possible, that impossible isn't permanent, that friendship is the most powerful force in the universe. And remember, the galaxy is full of species who evolved alone. Humanity evolved together, with wolves, with horses, with every animal we ever befriended. That legacy is in your DNA, the ability to connect, to bridge gaps, to turn strangers into family. Use it. The world needs more Jakes, more people willing to sit with the lonely, to befriend the feared, to see the person behind the armor. Because here's the final truth, the one that makes this story more than science fiction. We're all Titans sometimes. Armored, defensive, acting aggressive because we're scared. Alone because everyone assumes we're dangerous. And we're all Jake sometimes, looking at someone everyone else fears and thinking maybe they just need a friend. The question is, which one will you be today? Thanks for watching. I'm your host, and I'll see you in the next story where we explore what makes humanity extraordinary. Stay curious, stay kind, and never stop believing that impossible is just another word for nobody tried hard enough yet. Until next time.